Ladies and gentlemen, finally guys, we are back on the platform. Man, it's been a while. You know guys, after I recorded that video of Kenukunene, the last video on the platform, I wanted to make more material. I wanted to make new content. So I was busy recording new content when suddenly everything stopped on my laptop and the screen became blue. Everything just stopped. So in my mind, I thought, okay, this laptop is done. I have been using this laptop for such a long time. I thought, okay, it has run its course. It's done. So I took this laptop. I hopelessly took this laptop to this other guy I know to check what is wrong with the laptop. When we got there, he said that everything is still okay. After diagnosing the laptop, he said that everything is still okay with the laptop. The only thing that you're going to have to change is the hard drive. Mind you, I only had 500 rands on me. And to pay this guy to change this hard drive and to install new Windows, he says that he's going to need 300 rands. And it's a bargain, guys. This is not how these people normally charge. It's because I think Benny, we've known each other for such a long time. This is the reason why he was not heavy-handed when it comes to charging me. He says that he's going to need 300 rands to fix everything on the laptop. So I only had 500 rands. I'm going to have to put 300 rands on the side. So technically, I have 200 rands. Second step was to go to town to check how much these hard drives cost. When I got there, guys, I couldn't believe it because these things are so expensive. I was shocked to see that a 1 terabyte hard drive costs 700 rands. So I need 1000 rands now to fix everything on the laptop. I only have 500 and I've already put 300 on the side. I have 200 rands. Man, I'm stranded. To pay the man to fix everything on the laptop is 300 rands. To buy a hard drive, it's 700 rands. I'm stranded. For a few days, I was stranded. I didn't know what to do. One of our subscribers, a gentleman called Mr. Leslie, he donated 500 rands to the platform. I think after 3 days, after the laptop has crashed, he donated 500 rands to the platform because, guys, you know, I released that poster saying that I'm raising funds so that I can get new equipment so that I can upgrade this platform because I want us to do the live streams so that we can communicate in real time. I also want to do the interviews. So it's the interviews plus these normal videos and plus the live streams. I think that will boost the platform. So a gentleman called Mr. Leslie donated 500 rands on that premise. Man, I'm telling you that 500 rands couldn't have arrived at a better time. Because now it's my 500 rands, you combine it with Mr. Leslie's 500 rands, I now have 1000 rands. Man, you know when people say that God works in mysterious ways, man, I never understood what people said when people said God works in mysterious ways. Man, this is what my grandmother used to say. That today you can sleep thinking that everything is bad, then tomorrow, then everything just simply works out. This is exactly what happened. I literally had 200 rands on me, stranded, not knowing where the hell am I going to get 700 rands to get a new hard drive. And one of our subscribers, a gentleman called Mr. Leslie, he donated 500 rands to the platform. Now I have 1000 rand to get everything fixed on the laptop. Jeez, guys, where is it? This is the old hard drive they took out. You see this one? It's an old hard drive they took out. And on this hard drive, I've literally lost everything. The content, my work stuff, everything. I've literally lost it. But I'm okay with it because I wanted the laptop to be okay so that I can continue doing the platform. This is what is important for me to continue doing the platform. And I really didn't care about losing some of my stuff on this old hard drive because I just wanted the laptop to be okay so that I can continue doing the platform. So guys, I think we should show Mr. Leslie some love, guys. Please, let's show Mr. Leslie some love. And there's another subscriber of ours. I didn't get their names because they didn't leave their names on the reference. They donated 800 rands to the platform on the same premise that, Thomas, we want to help you buy new equipment so that you can upgrade the platform. Guys, I appreciate that so much. You guys have literally saved this platform. And guys, please show love to each and every one of you guys who actually donate to the platform. I know it is not only Mr. Leslie and the other subscriber, and Thank you to people who take time out of their busy schedules and watching this platform and sharing this platform. Guys, all of you guys, your efforts combined are literally growing this platform. Without you, this platform wouldn't be here. Without you, Mr. Leslie, we wouldn't be here today. There's a lot of stuff happened since I was away, but the one story that really caught my attention is this story of rand manipulation, man. You know, if there's one thing this story proved to me, it's how gullible South Africans are. Man, South Africans are so gullible, it's painful to watch. Ever since this story of rand manipulation broke out, people have been outraged. People with the politicians now, they are outraged that the banks have manipulated the rents that resulted in people's lives getting destroyed. People are outraged. But at the same time, the same people who are outraged, they are outraged with the politicians. And this is where it really doesn't make sense to me. Because just because the banks and the private sector have committed a crime does not mean all of these politicians are now holier than thou. Guys, I've seen the interviews of these guys. The politicians, almost every day, they are on our screens talking about the corruption in the private sector. We don't see them as passionate when it comes to the corruption in government. They talk about corruption in private sector. They say nothing about the corruption in government. I've heard some of these politicians saying that what these banks have done is treason. Man, we've been talking about the treason that has been committed by the African National Congress. So just because the private sector has committed crime, just because these guys and the banks have done something horrible, it does not now mean that the politicians are now holier than thou. And this is exactly what these people are doing. For some reason, average South Africans think that the politicians are on their side. Because I can assure you that today, all of these politicians that are on the national television every day talking about the corruption in the private sector, the only thing they want the South Africans to go into 2024 thinking that they are the only solutions into these rand manipulating scandals. Guys, I think the South Africans really need to be careful. Because if they are not careful, they want to go into 2024 thinking that the politicians are the ones who are going to save South Africa from these monsters of private sector. Guys, you know, people have said that we want accountability. I've heard politicians saying that we want these banks to be held accountable. I've heard average South Africans say that there needs to be some sort of accountability. Man, I think as South Africans, at some point we really need to stop wasting each other's time. There's no accountability in South Africa. If there was any accountability in South Africa, the African National Congress wouldn't be running the country. All of these corrupt and incompetent ministers would be in jail if there was any accountability in South Africa today. So all of the people talking about we want these banks to be held accountable, what kind of accountability do you want? Because South Africans have never witnessed any accountability. Man, the ANC has been committing crimes for over 30 years. And nothing has been done about that. What actually makes you think that something is going to be done to these banks when nothing has literally been done to the African National Congress after literally breaking down the country? What kind of accountability do these people want? What kind of accountability do average South Africans want? Because I've never witnessed any accountability. Ramaphosa, when he became the president, he says that one of the first things that he's going to do was to strengthen the NPA so that they can go after these politicians that have been plunging of the country. 4 years after his presidency, when his Secretary General was asked about NPA and why are politicians not arrested, why are these guys who have been implicated in Zondo Commission, why there's nothing has been done about them, Fikile Mbalula says that the Ramaphosa administration is still working on fixing the NPA. Ramaphosa says that the first thing we're going to do when we come into power, we're going to fix the NPA so that we can deal with all of these politicians that have been inflicting pain on South Africa. 4 years after, nothing has been done. When they are questioned about that, they say that Ramaphosa's administration is still strengthening the NPA. So guys, we really have to be honest with ourselves. There's no accountability in South Africa. If there was any accountability in South Africa, I mean, can you imagine how many incompetent and corrupt ministers that we have today under the ANC? They would be in jail. All of these guys that were implicated in the Zondo Commission, all of them, like most of them, they would be in jail. And the others would be in court trying to clear their names if there was any accountability in South Africa. So what kind of accountability do South Africans expect? I'm so sick and tired every day of seeing people on national television talking about accountability. Guys, there's no accountability in South Africa. There's no accountability in South Africa. Opposition parties all over the place are talking about accountability. These are the same people who are failing to hold ANC accountable for all of the horrible things they've done in South Africa. The opposition parties are the most useless parties. Like guys, these people are useless. No wonder why average South Africans don't vote for opposition parties. Do these people just sit back and think, this is why people don't vote for us as opposition parties? Because we've literally never done anything for the people of South Africa. This is why today when African National Congress is campaigning, they will always tell you about what they have done post-1994. The ANC will tell you that we were struggling. The ANC will tell you that we were struggling. The apartheid government was haunting us. We were chased around like dogs. We had to go to the exile. Our people were dying. People were dying. If you were associated with African National Congress back then, man, you were a target. This is why people today are voting for the African National Congress, because you can say whatever that you want to say about the African National Congress, but they've actually done something for the people of South Africa. The opposition parties have literally failed to hold the ANC accountable for anything. But today, these people, they are talking about accountability. What accountability do you people want when you guys are failing to hold the ANC accountable? What kind of accountability do you want? Are you not surprised why people are not so enthusiastic when it comes to voting for these opposition parties? It's because these people have literally never done anything for the people of South Africa. Man, an average South African today, an average South African has a family. You have children, you have family, you have a children. Prices are up, petrol is up, food is up. You don't need whining babies. You need people who are going to provide solutions. The opposition parties, the only thing they have done is whine about the African National Congress, is to cry on national television about the African National Congress. They've literally never done anything to make the ANC be held accountable. This is why average South Africans don't vote for the opposition parties, because these are whining babies, and an average South African is already having a tough time living in this hard economy. The last thing that an average South African need is a whining baby, whining about the African National Congress as if there's nothing they can do to hold the African National Congress accountable. How many political parties do we have in parliament? How many political parties are against the African National Congress? Are you honestly telling me that all of those parties, there's nothing they can do? You are telling me these people cannot convene a meeting and be like, guys, this is what we are going to do to make sure that the African National Congress is held accountable. This is what people vote on. People don't vote on crying. People don't vote on crying, even when it comes to this whole thing of rand manipulation. You see, I've heard people saying that, yeah, Jacob Zuma has been telling us that the banks have manipulated the rand. Man, people need to stop fooling us, man. Guys, today I woke up and I have flu, man. My noses are all blocked and everything. I saw people online saying that Jacob Zuma told us that the banks were manipulating the rand and we didn't believe him. So now Jacob Zuma is the best thing since sliced bread. Man, Jacob Zuma was the president when all of these things happened. I don't care if Jacob Zuma told me that the banks were manipulating the rand. I care about what Jacob Zuma done. What did Jacob Zuma do? When he realized that the banks were manipulating the rand, he knows the consequences of rand manipulation by the banks. He knows the consequences. He knows that people's lives will literally be destroyed. What did Jacob Zuma do? Don't tell me that Jacob Zuma told us that the banks were allegedly manipulating the rand at the time. Tell me what Jacob Zuma has done. This is where we are in South Africa, man. You have people always complaining, whining, crying, not providing any solutions. This is why I'm telling guys, let's stop fooling each other. Let's stop talking about accountability, because at some point as South Africans, we really have to say, this is the kind of country that we are in. There's no accountability for any of these guys in South Africa. If you're a politician, if you're a top-notch corporate, man, there's no accountability for you. You can basically do everything you want. This is what the African National Congress has shown us throughout the years. You can do whatever that you want in South Africa. There's no accountability. The only reason why politicians are making noise about this corruption in the private sector is because they want people to go into 2024 thinking that they are the ones who are going to stop the rents from manipulating the rent. This is why you see those guys, the red beret ones, talking about, yeah, this is why we should nationalize the banks. This is why we should nationalize the... Like, guys, let's stop fooling each other, man, in South Africa. Me personally, I've accepted that, okay, maybe this is a banana country, man. I've accepted that maybe this is a banana country. Because if, guys, we're going to have to sit here and think about all of the wrong things that have been done in this country, if we're going to have to sit here and think about all of the corruption that has been done by all of these politicians, guys, I'm telling you, we would sit here for 2 weeks talking about what politicians have done to South Africa. If there's any common factor about the crimes that have been committed in this country, whether it's state capture, whether it's rent manipulation by the banks, the one common factor is that there's no accountability in South Africa. South Africans have never witnessed any accountability. Politicians have never held ANC accountable for anything. Opposition parties have never held ANC accountable for anything. So it makes no sense for them to go around saying that they want accountability when they literally don't know what accountability looks like. The same applies to average South Africans. Man, average South Africans need to stop running their mouths talking about accountability. You guys have allowed the ANC to get away with... Man, you have allowed the ANC to get away with murder for 30 years. Average South Africans have allowed the ANC to do whatever they want. This is why today, when you campaign, when you tell people about service delivery, man, South Africans no longer care about service delivery. They don't care. You can say whatever you want. The South Africans, they don't care about service delivery. This is why, throughout the years, the ANC has never provided South Africans with service delivery. But South Africans, for some reason, they continue voting for the African National Congress. So if you think that telling people about the lack of service delivery is going to take the voters from the African National Congress, you are sadly mistaken. If you think that load shedding is going to affect on the voters of the African National Congress, you are sadly mistaken. An average voter in South Africa, man, is someone special. An average voter in South Africa, man, is someone special. There's no accountability in South Africa. Today, we have millions of people who have literally given up on the country. This is why, when it's election time, millions of people are choosing to stay at home and not participate in any elections. Because people have never witnessed any accountability. So there's no need for them to go to the polls and vote for these people who cannot even be held accountable after committing crimes. This is what average South Africans are saying. This is what people are saying on the ground. This is why I said these opposition parties, these political parties, they are not on the ground. They are not with the people. Because if they were with the people, they would understand that one of the biggest things that makes people hesitant going to voting is because they know that these people that we vote for, if they commit crime tomorrow, nothing is going to be done about that. They always talk about accountability. ANC has literally destroyed the future of this country, man. They have given us Njimutsecha. Njimutsecha is presiding over the basic education. This is why today you have average children in South Africa today. They cannot read or write. Come to the townships, man, to see all of these things. An average child in South Africa, they cannot read, they cannot write. Under Njimutsecha's 30%. If you think that the ANC going along with this whole 30% thing, it is not treason, then clearly you don't know what you're talking about. It's treason. Then you have the ANC and the EFF telling you that we don't need the Western brands, we don't need the Americans because we can be like China. Man, there's no way South Africans can be like China. Chinese are active. Do you think us with 30% pass rate, we can be like Chinese? We don't need the Americans. We don't need the West. We don't need white people in South Africa. We can do everything on our own and we can be like China. Man, do you honestly think that the youth of South Africa is anything like the youth of China? You look at our education system, man. You look at our social media. You know, people always make fun of the kids in the townships. That if you look at the Chinese TikTok and see what the 6-year-olds are doing in China, and you look at what the average 6-year-olds are doing in South Africa, man, you will see that a 6-year-old in China will literally be the boss of this 6-year-old. You can see. Chinese are highly productive. South Africans are not highly productive. Chinese are educated. South Africans are not educated. I don't care even if you are in matric. I don't care if you just finished matric. You are not educated. 30% you are as good as uneducated. It's treason. So what kind of accountability do people want? Do you think if there was any accountability in South Africa, Njimutsecha and Blade Nzimande would still be running education sector today? Just imagine, Njimutsecha, Blade Nzimande, these people are running the institutions. These people are running the education institutions in South Africa today. And you tell me that then you tell me people want accountability. What kind of accountability do you people want? Because if there was any accountability in South Africa, Njimutsecha and her 30% would be kicked out a long time ago. There is no way you can produce highly effective people with 30%. There is no way. You have Blade Nzimande, man, making sure that all of the students in universities and colleges are having the hardest time in the world. Then people talk about accountability. This is why when I say, if I have to go on this road and start talking about these people and start talking about what the ministers have done to our hospitals in our townships, do you think what the ANC has done to our hospitals in the townships, it is not treason? You allow the ANC to go on national television to tell you that the rent manipulation by the banks was treason. Do you think that the ANC and what they have done to our hospitals in our townships, don't you think that is treason? Have you seen how our hospitals are like in our townships? Don't you think that is treason? Man, I can talk about the open borders that they literally, deliberately opened. Don't you think that is treason? What about people who have lost their children? What about people who have lost their family members in the hands of illegal immigrants that were allowed inside South Africa by the African National Congress by not guarding the borders? Don't you think that is treason? Guys, I can sit here the whole day, man. I can sit here the whole day to talk about the worst things that the African National Congress has done to the people of South Africa. These people should not be on our national television talking about the treason. They should. The African National Congress are the last people to be on our national television talking about treason. The politicians, I don't care, even if you are an opposition leader, you are not in any position to talk about treason. Because if you are in parliament enjoying the perks of parliament, you should do your job, at least. Nothing has been done. These opposition parties are literally allowing ANC to do whatever they want to do. I don't know what kind of accountability do people want, man. I'm so sick and tired of this story. I see people outraged online. I see people outraged on television. I'm so sick and tired of this story because it's not going anywhere. And the reason why I'm saying that politicians should not act holier than thou, when the reports come, when we start seeing who benefited from what in this whole rent manipulation scandal, you are going to see how many politicians have benefited from manipulating the rent in South Africa. You're going to see how many politicians benefited from manipulating the rent in South Africa. It looks like people still don't understand it, that if you want to inflict pain on South Africa, you have to do it with the help of politicians. I can assure you today that the banks have managed to manipulate the rent because they were enabled by politicians. I can assure you that. The reports are going to come. We are going to see who benefited from what. And you're going to see how many politicians have actually helped the banks manipulate the rent. Politicians are actually, like, having political parties in South Africa, I think it is treason. This is why I told people, you remember the last time I told people that the reason why I started this platform was to make people aware that there is nothing that politicians can do for us. As people, if we are not self-sufficient like Orania, there's nothing that these politicians can do for us. Guys, the reports are going to come. Don't be caught up with these politicians talking about accountability. Guys, there's no accountability in South Africa. It is sad to say that, but unfortunately it is true. There's no accountability in South Africa. Don't expect any accountability. I don't know what kind of accountability do you expect as an average South African when it comes to this banks and rent manipulation scandal. If South African courts or South African justice system has failed to hold the politicians accountable for all of their crimes, what makes you think that the courts or the South African justice system is going to do something about the banks and manipulating the rent? The guys, stop wasting each other's time. There's no accountability in South Africa. There's no accountability. So guys, please, man, I don't know, please tell me what you think on the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button, and the most important part, subscribe. My name is Thomas Mabaso, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.